Hello. Today I'm going to be ranking all the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the worst to the best. Before we begin, make sure you like and subscribe, and let me know your ranking in the comments below, and let me know how much you agree or disagree with my ranking. So yeah, let's get to it. Starting at number 21, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This film, in my opinion, is the most distasteful in the MCU. It's a weird, dark story, if you guys didn't catch that, with the whole plotline of Ego killing Peter's mom. There isn't a compelling villain or conflict until late in the second half of the movie, and the third act is just irritating to look at. It's just like, to me, it's just a bunch of CGI noise thrown up on the screen. Overall, it's Marvel's biggest disappointment. At number 20 is Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Long Haul. This movie does a great job at expanding the MCU as we know it. Greg makes for a likable hero and gives us a kid's perspective on the much bigger world. I find the Heffley family quite funny and whimsical. We also see Spider-Ham introduced into the MCU for the first time. And overall, it's just an amazing, fun adventure. Coming in at number 19 is Iron Man 2. So I just rewatched this movie like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and basically what I got from it is that nothing happened until the third act. There was the whiplash scene on the racetrack, but then they just hid him away for like the rest of the movie until the third act. And all he does is make a longer electric whip. And this movie is just stuffed with random plot lines that don't mix well and don't make sense at all. The best thing I can say about this film is that it's a setup for the Avengers, and I love the conclusion of Don Cheadle. He's the best. So yeah. Coming in at number 18 is Thor: The Dark World. What I'm going to say first is that this movie gets so much unnecessary hate. I don't understand. Don't get me wrong though, it's not a great film. In my opinion, it's the most mediocre out of the MCU movies. At some points, it's like it doesn't know what it wants to be. And Malekith is arguably the most forgettable villain in the MCU. At number 17 is The Incredible Hulk. This movie also gets so much unnecessary hate. In my opinion, Edward Norton feels more like Bruce Banner than Mark Ruffalo does. Now, while this movie doesn't have the usual tone and humor that we're used to in Marvel, the story works on its own, and the third act is one of my personal favorites of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. At number 16 is Thor. This movie does a great job of expanding the MCU. Thor makes for a lovable hero. I love the fish out of water comedy once he's in Earth and mortal. And Chris Hemsworth is perfect for the role. The Shakespearean language doesn't get annoying in my opinion. The only flaw, if you can call it a flaw, is that the plot revolves around Thor's own ego, which constricts the plot from becoming bigger. Coming in at number 15 is Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, I love the first hour of this movie. It's some of the best stuff in the MCU by far. But it kind of starts to lose steam once he's fully Captain America, and it starts to montage through World War II. And then it just kind of feels like 2 or 3 movies put into one. Though this movie is my favorite origin story in the MCU, and it does a great job of introducing Chris Evans, who's perfect for the role as Captain America. Coming in at number 14 is Doctor Strange. This movie is essentially just Iron Man with magic. If it ain't broken, don't fix it, you know what I mean? Though Stephen Strange isn't as likable as Tony Stark, you know, they're both jerks, but Tony Stark or RDJ just makes him likable somehow. And Stephen Strange isn't as likable. Caecilius is even arguably more forgettable than Malekith is. It's just an evil version of our hero. Though the visuals and the acting, once he's fully Doctor Strange, is amazing. At number 13 is Black Panther. This is the most adult or mature movie in the MCU. It's a movie about a king and his kingdom. Killmonger makes for an exciting villain. Even though he dies, he manages to win somehow and sway Wakanda itself in a new direction. The only flaw, if you can call it a flaw, is that the comedy feels kind of forced. Like, for example, the whole "what are those" joke.
And what are these?
The real question is, what are those?
Why do you have your...
At number 12 is Spider-Man Homecoming. This movie gives us a high schooler's point of view on a much bigger universe. It has one of the best villains in the MCU. What makes the Vulture so compelling is that he's not trying to rule the world, he's just trying to provide for his family. And that makes him sympathetic in some way. Overall, it's a fun and exciting entry in the MCU. At number 11 comes Iron Man 3. Now, I don't really understand why this movie isn't liked very much. Except from comic book fans, I understand why you dislike it. With the whole Mandarin switcheroo thing. Even then, this movie is great and its story works on its own. And it's a great adaptation of the Extremis storyline from the comics. Don Cheadle is back at it again, hell yeah. But what I love about it is that they take Tony on a new story arc that we've never seen before, and we get to know more about the man behind the suit. Making its way into the top 10 is Ant-Man. What I love about this movie is that it's not trying to be the biggest or best movie in the MCU, but it definitely gets on base. I love how Scott Lang just gets thrown into the superhero world out of nowhere, and is just a man trying to provide for his daughter. This movie has so much heart and probably my favorite kind of humor. Paul Rudd just owns the Scott Lang persona. And I can't forget to mention the Luis's storytelling, which is one of the most funniest things in the MCU. At number 9 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. This movie is the most lighthearted movie in the MCU. Now, some people might say there's a villain problem, but I think that's part of the charm of about different groups of people chasing an item. The cast is amazing and Lucius' storytelling is back.
So Scotty goes on house arrest and he won't admit it, but his heart is all like, damn, I thought Hope could have been my new true partner, but I blew it. But fate brought them back together, and then Hope's heart is all, I'm worried that I can't trust him and he's gonna screw up again and ruin everything. And then my heart is all like, that fancy raspberry filling represents the company's red and we're days away from going out of business. Oh!
It's not trying to be the biggest or best movie in the MCU, but overall, it's one of my favorites. Coming in at number 8 is Avengers Age of Ultron. For the sequel to the cultural phenomenon that was the 2012 Avengers, Joss Whedon decided to amp up everything. There's more and more actions, it's stuffed with different plot lines, but it just doesn't well together or work together as good as the 2012 Avengers. It's still a great film filled with quips and deep emotions. At number 7 is Thor Ragnarok. Coming off of the most mediocre movie in the MCU comes, in my opinion, the most fun movie in the MCU. Taika Waititi inserts humor and fun and spirit into new characters, Korg being one of my favorites. At points, the movie does sacrifice some dramatic scenes for a quick joke or, kill off the Warriors 3. But overall, it's a fun, great, exciting adventure and one of my favorites. And at number 6 is Guardians of the Galaxy. This film is without a doubt the most heartfelt movie in the MCU. The soundtrack is amazing. The characters are oddly compelling. And the comedy just works. I'd also like to add that last scene with Groot always brings a tear to my eye. And it's amazing that a movie can make me cry over a tree. I just find that sick. At number 5 we have Iron Man. This movie introduces us to the whole cinematic universe. It's a very simple movie being the first one, but the story arc they take us with Tony is some of the best stuff in the MCU. And Robert Downey Jr. just owns the role and has chemistry with everyone he shares the screen with. After 10 years going on 11, the first movie is still one of the best. Coming in at number 4 is Captain America Civil War. This movie does a great job of intertwining different plot lines while still making it work. There's a Black Panther setup while telling a story on its own and also being a legitimate sequel to both Age of Ultron and Captain America the Winter Soldier. Don Cheadle is back, hell yeah. The dialogue is great, and the airport battle just delivers every comic book fan's dream. Making its way to the top 3 is Captain America the Winter Soldier. While keeping the fun and tone of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it adds a political theme into the mix. Also, with the addition of Robert Redford, it adds a sense of respectability to the film. This film also has the best action sequences in the entire franchise. The runner-up is The Avengers. This is the first time we see all these different characters and different franchises come together to just deliver something essentially just awesome. I love the interaction between the different characters. The action sequences were so sick. I'd also like to add that this movie changed Hollywood by itself. So, kudos to Joss Whedon. But in first place comes Avengers Infinity War. After 10 years of build-up, Marvel finally delivered the most anticipated and broadest film of the MCU. It delivers big laughs and even bigger emotions. It has some of the best action sequences in the franchise and an appalling finale. But the best part about this film is Thanos himself. Marvel managed to create a villain that's horrifying, but at the same time emotionally sympathetic, and makes us as the audience not want him to win, but understand why he wants to do what he wants to do. And to top it all off, Don Cheadle's back at it again. So yeah. So in my opinion, Avengers Infinity War is the best movie in the MCU. So there it is. That's my ranking of all the movies in the MCU. Let me know your ranking in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe. Also, let me know what other videos you want to see from me in the future. Goodbye.